Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Emily Kimmy with EMK Creations and we're so excited, I'm so excited to get to share with you one of my projects from our Creative Collab crew, A Very Merry Christmas Craft Along. So we are sharing with you 8 projects, and this is one of the ones that I get to share with you. We picked the stitched stocking bundle, so the stamp set and the dies, because there's just so many fun things you can do with it. The paper is beautiful. I love all the quilting patterns, even though I'm not a quilter, and I just think there's so many things you can do with this. So one of the things I wanted to do on this card was try to use one of the dies away from the stocking, away from the actual quilted pattern necessarily, in a way that just kind of gives you, again, a different way to use it. And I have an alternative card with this exact same layout that I'm going to show you as well. So for this card, you will need the packet that has your red cardstock base, your real red, and these 2 pieces. So these are the pieces that we're going to end up cutting out this pattern with. And then here is the designer series paper that we're going to use. So I will need to cut that down. So I'm going to do that. You have the measurements in your PDF. Let's see. And I always suggest when you're doing this that I think it's best if you do the smaller of your 2 cuts first, and that will save more of your paper. Again, you're going to have plenty of paper left over to continue to make other projects, but it's still just my suggestion of how I cut my paper. So we will need this piece as well as the ones that were already, the cardstock that was ready for you. So then you're just going to take and fold your cardstock in half for your base. And then this piece is actually just going to get put down in the middle. And actually, did I cut it? I think I may have cut it longer than I needed to. Yeah, I'm like just having a ball with these things. I keep cutting them at sizes different than what I need. But like I said, you've got plenty. So read your instructions better than me is what I would suggest. I keep looking at the wrong one. All right, so I think it would have worked to leave it that size, but this way we have it a little bit. What I don't want to have it do is show through these pieces here. That's why I made it pretty much exactly the size that you're going to need in between there. So it's going to go down in the middle of your cardstock. If you're very particular, you can line it up on your grid line. I am honestly just going to eyeball it. I think it's going to work just fine like that. Then I am going to bring in my Big Shot real quick, which, you know, is going to take up some space here, but let's get that under here so I can do my cutting and you can see that. All right, so we are going to do the first of these. Get that lined up on there and we'll run it through. I love that it'll cut out the whole piece all at once. So here it comes. All right, so we've got one of them. I did not attempt to do 2 at once. I think that you won't get as deep of a cut on it. I also like that, look at that, it comes out, you have very little punching that you need to do to get those last little pieces out. It does a really good job. Another little trick, a friend taught me this, a lot of times if you just kind of drop it on there, most of those pieces will end up falling out for you. So then we are going to do our second one. Let me get this one lined up for you. And we'll get that one done. Just punching out a couple of those little pieces that didn't come out when I did that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do our second one. Put that on there. You could use washi tape or sticky note. I, however, have not found that it moves too much as long as I put it directly on there and start feeding it through. It hasn't done too much moving around, so I don't think you have to with this particular die, but that's always another little tip or trick, if you will. All right, so now we've got a second one. Again, punches out pretty easily, which I appreciate for sure. All right, let's find, I have a piece of white cardstock here, a scrap. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that real quick to cut out our sentiment piece. So let me run that through, and then we'll have all of our die cutting done, which is nice. Now I will say this particular die, I do think you can cut out 2 at once. I have done that. And there we go. I love the stitching on it. Again, goes with the theme. Stitch stocking. All right, so now a few more things to do here. We have our sentiment here, and Secret C will work for most of your stamping of words for these cards. It coordinates with it, and it works as well as a black would. So I have actually used Secret C. All right, we got that done. And now I need a piece of ribbon that's gonna go underneath there. I love the ribbon because it's not thick. It's a really nice satin. So I'm just gonna cut a piece of it like that. I don't even measure it. I just kind of use my, like eyeball it again when I'm ready to do it and get this closed, because otherwise you will find me getting ink on everything, because that's just how things go for me. All right, now I am going to put these on with dimensionals, and I would suggest if you have the mini dimensionals to use those. I think they fit perfectly on here. The bigger ones you can make work, but this way they are not going to show, because look how nicely they fit in those spaces. I went ahead and did dimensionals in each of the corners, and then in the middle is how I put them on there. I don't think you need to put them all over, but that's personal preference, I think. All right, so then each of those is gonna go at the top and the bottom. And so you are gonna have a little bit of space that's going to be at the top and the bottom. So I didn't measure it. I just, again, lined it up here and left probably, what, 1/4 of an inch along the top and the bottom. So now we're gonna go ahead and add our dimensionals on this piece and pop it up. Gotta get all those little ones on there and then peel off the backs. I do love dimensionals though. I always think it just adds so much to a card when you have that little bit of an extra layer. All right. Get these all off, get this one on. All right, so now this one's gonna go at the top. Again, just gonna line it up so I have a little bit of space at the top. And then I'm gonna do my ribbon in the middle. I did not do a bow, I just did the whole wind it back and forth like that. Again, it'll lay a little bit flatter for you if you do that. Sometimes I get enough adhesive on there, other times I just go back and add a little bit more to get it to stick, and you just loop it. So it still kind of looks like a bow, but you don't have to tie one, which I know there are plenty of people who do not enjoy tying bows. For this one, I would say you could go ahead and use your bigger dimensionals, but I just put one on each end, and then I pop that up over my ribbon. Get those just like that. So again, not a difficult card to make at all, but I thought it was really fun, a different use of the dies, gave it some dimension there. And so like I said, I do have an alternative to show you. So if you have some Secret C cardstock, and I used some linen thread on here, here is a non-Christmas card you could make with this. And you may notice I did Sending Warm Wishes, and the stamp actually says This Christmas. So a little tip, you've got 2 ways that you can do this. One is if you happen to have a marker that you want to use, you can just ink up the Sending Warm Wishes and not ink up that part. The other option is we have masking paper, and you can cut down a little strip of it. I'm going to actually be able to show you what I did is I covered it up just like that. I don't want to get myself messy, but anyway, I covered up that part of it inked it up on my ink pad, and then pulled this off and did my stamping. So just another little tip for you if you've never tried that. It's a great way to, again, get more use out of your stamps because you can pick and choose what part of it that you want to use. So this is a way to turn this particular suite. Doesn't have to be all Christmas if you need other types of cards. So again, here are 2 options for you. I hope you enjoyed this project and all of the projects we've been sharing with you. We're so excited to have you join us, and hope that you will do a couple things. Follow each of us individually, as well as we do have a Creative Collab Crew, that is so hard to say sometimes, Creative Collab Crew Facebook page that we also use collectively, all 4 of us, to share inspiration. And stay tuned because we are planning our next craft along. So that will be announced here in the next couple weeks and will take place in September. So we hope that you will continue to create with us and share what it is that you're making. Glad to have you here, and until next time, thanks.